All right.
Okay. All right, so our next speaker, Brandon Joe Williams, he is not a bar card. And he has a pretty interesting website. No, it's actually a really incredible website where he's sort of taken these complex law topics and synthesized them in such a way that it's really, really easy to digest for virtually anyone. I've gotten to know him over the past month or so, and he's really such a sweet human being who just wants the best for all of us. And really, he really is behind the label of what his organization is called. Sorry if there's kids in here. One stupid, duck. One stupid duck. You need to make like a more kid-friendly one.
I have BrandonJoeWilliams.com and Don'tBeASlave.com.
One stupid duck.
Yeah.
That needs to be like the kid-friendly.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're a duck costume. Okay. But I am honored to have Brandon Joe Williams here, and this is one of his first. This is now your second time speaking in public, so I've already watched him do this, and he's really incredible, captivating. He's really good at what he does, so I'm honored to have him here with us. Give it up for Brandon Joe Williams.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First thing I want to do is I want to thank Alex Zach so much because he invited me to Austin, and I just did a whole bunch of shows in Austin with Cal Callahan and Cal Kingsbury and Lou Story. And those are all going to get released very soon. You're going to see a huge thing, and then there's going to be a conspiracy. Why is he on all these shows at the same time? He's got to be a plant or an agent. It's got to happen, But I was on Alex Zach's show, which is definitely, for sure, the best show I've ever done. I've done probably 100 shows, and it's amazing. It's coming out, I think, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm really excited about that particular show. I think it's the most mind-blowing show I've ever done. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Because Alec is the most knowledgeable person on anything that I do of any show I've ever done. So usually this presentation is the presentation that I give for all the shows that I'm on. So if you guys don't really feel like taking notes because you're lazy, which I understand. If you don't feel like taking notes because you're lazy, which I understand, this presentation is available on like every single show I've almost ever done, basically anywhere. So you can just sit here, just like get drunk and like not care, and it's going to be totally fun. Okay.
Hold on, let me just make sure that it doesn't time out. We just try to tap it every so often at least.
That's all you got to do is just tap.
Just tap.
Okay, so we're going to start at the ground floor because I know when Dr. Kaufman was up here, he did a little survey with you guys, and a lot of you had some familiarity, but none of you had really done much with it, which is okay, I understand. So I'm just going to start from the ground floor, the first like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then from there we'll get into some stuff that you're probably not familiar with. So the first thing we're going to do is clean up the definition of the word person, which you guys have had some relationship with. There's a couple different definitions we're going to cover. This one right here. So the term person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. Now, I'm just real curious, out of show of hands, how many people here knew that definition of the term person? Quite a few. Okay, good. Quite a few. Okay, good. So now we're going to go on to the next part, which is we're going to find out what does United States mean? Okay? This might not be, I'm going to ask you guys too if this is new for you as well. We're going to go to 28 USC 3002, subsection 15, definition A. United States means a federal corporation. And the F is capitalized, which I may or may not get into because it takes a while, but just notice that the F is capitalized. That actually does have some significance, which we may or may not get into. So if we go back to person, and a person shall be construed to mean and include an individual, a trust, estate, partnership, association, company, or corporation. And, United States is a federal corporation. Then, is United States a person? Oh, yes it is. Interesting. So now, let me ask you guys, does anyone know where that person is located? Raise your hand. Oh, less hands, less hands. Where are you? My God. Where the hell are we? We're all drunk, lost at sea. Okay. UCC 9-307, subsection H. We're going to find out where is that person located. Location of United States. It doesn't say location of the United States. It says location of United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia. Fascinating. Next part we're going to go into, 42 U.S.C. 9102, subsection 18. United States citizen. How many people in here have at some point in the past said on any documentation that you were, in fact, a United States citizen? Raise your hand. Oh! Pain! Damage! All right. Now, person could be what again? We got the state, partnership, association, partnership, company, corporation, trust. I saw one in like the CFR, like Title 49 of the Code of Federal Relations says includes a railroad. I was like, okay, could be a railroad too. So here we go. So subsection C is a little bit interesting. I'm going to show this to you guys. And you can type it into the internet. Could a corporation be a U.S. citizen? They're like, well, yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be construed to be, but if you look right here, subsection C, any corporation, partnership, association, or other entity organized or existing under the laws of the United States. So any person that operates under the laws of the United States is a United States citizen. So that means that Hilton Hotels is a United States citizen. Starbucks Incorporated is a United States citizen. Okay. Interesting. So now for the individual, subsection A, we have here, United States citizen means any individual who is a citizen of the United States by law, birth, or naturalization. So by law, what that means is basically like that you're underneath the laws of, or you operate under the laws of, or you're contracted to operate under the laws of, which has good and bad. People are like, oh, that's the worst thing in the world. Oh my God, I'm dying. Not necessarily. I mean, there's a whole substructure that you can use for your advantage too. So it just depends. It's your choice, you know. So birth, so born in the District of Columbia. Where in the District of Columbia, we don't know. There's no information. Is it the lower east side of the District of Columbia? Is it the west side? Is it shaped like a heart? Because they love everybody so much, we don't know. Nobody knows. There's no information. Somewhere in the District of Columbia, some size, some shape, it could be a heart. It could be, it might look like me, for all I know. We don't know. But it's somewhere in the District of Columbia. So even if you were born in the District of Columbia and they say, oh, you're from the United States. Okay, prove it. You're the one asserting it. You prove it. They can't prove it. To my knowledge, I've never seen any information that explains where in the F this thing is. Inside the District of Columbia, okay? Now, we have this final word. Naturalization. My favorite word of all time. Now, I'm going to show you guys what naturalization means. It's going to rip your freaking skull right off your body. Now, the thing is that this is going to be emotionally difficult for you guys who are not familiar with this, and you're not even going to believe me, and you're going to walk around in the next 30 days like this. And that's okay. I did it too. Okay? So don't worry. I thought for sure there's got to be something more to this, and I'm like, I'm doing like algebra 15 in my head, like if I like have the common denominator of like the sun spinning, and it's like, you know, I just couldn't have it. But it is what it says it is. And it comes from 8 U.S.C. 1101, subsection A23. The term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state upon a person after birth by any means whatsoever. I'm going to read it again. The term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state, I don't even look at it, after birth upon a person after birth by any means whatsoever. Now, what's a person? We've already covered that, but Title 8 has a little bit different definition for person. I'll click on it so you guys can see it. Because I could be just some big, fraud standing up here. You don't know. It's going to take forever to load. So the definition from Title 8, here we go. An individual or an organization. So it's not quite as verbose as the other one. I like the other one a little bit more because it lists all the different possible entities, right? This one is a little bit simpler. It's just an individual or an organization, which is the same thing, okay? So let's reread it again. I'm gonna replace person with the Title 8 definition of person, okay? The term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state upon a individual or organization after birth by any means whatsoever. So what does that mean? It means you, your trusts, your estates, your partnerships, your associations, your companies, and your corporations are wherever you say they are. So if you would like to move to Zimbabwe this evening, you're more than welcome to. You simply confer the nationality of the state called Zimbabwe upon yourself after birth by any means whatsoever. And people go like, wait a second. What if I had a carrier pigeon? And I took the carrier pigeon and I wrote down Zimbabwe, and I'm moving to Zimbabwe, and I folded it up, and I took a rubber band. Rubber band. And I wrapped it around the bird's leg, and I released the bird into the world. Well, shockingly, that would fit under by any means whatsoever. I know, it's amazing, I know. Because I get asked that. A Q&A session go on for 4 hours. Well, what if, Brandon, hold on. What if I had a cell phone, but I had like bad service, and I was in like South Africa? And shockingly, that would also be included under by any means whatsoever. Okay? So I usually don't take Q&A on that, because it makes me want to Q&A myself into a wood chipper, okay? Okay. So, let's read it again, because I could read this just over and over and over again, and you guys get more out of this than almost anything, okay? So, the term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state upon a person, not you, not yourself, not this, not that, a individual or organization. So let's say I want to naturalize this gentleman right here, Kenny. I would say, I, Brandon Joe Williams, confer the nationality of Zimbabwe upon Kenny after birth by any means whatsoever. Now, if Kenny says, I'm cool with that, boom, Kenny's now legally naturalized into Zimbabwe. I could do it on all of you. I could renaturalize all of you right now. The power in my hands. All right, so check it out. So now we're going to break this down section by section. So nationality of a state. Okay, what is a state? What is a state? People say, oh, it's one of those 50 things, where you can live in it or you can drive through it. Not quite. So the definition of the word state is, in its largest sense, a state is a body politic or society of men. It's not that great of a definition, honestly. It's kind of trash. So we're going to look at body politic, state or nation or public associations up top. Kind of trash as well. Society is a little bit better of a definition, just below body politic, an association or company of persons, generally unincorporated, united together by mutual consent in order to deliberate, determine, and act jointly for some common purpose. In a wider sense, the community or public, the people in general. A little better. I think we're getting warmer, okay? So I did some digging, and I was like, we've got to find something better than that. That's actually decent, okay? So I found this definition of nation from a court case. Mind-blowing definition of nation. So I'm going to read the whole thing. It's kind of long. An independent body politic, a society of men united together for the purpose of promoting their mutual safety and advantage by the joint efforts of their combined strength. But every combination of men who govern themselves independently of all others will not be considered a nation. A body of pirates, for example, like you guys, who govern themselves are not a nation. To constitute a nation, another ingredient is required. The body thus formed must respect other nations in general and each of their members in particular. Such a society has her affairs and her interests. She deliberates and takes resolutions in common, thus becoming a moral person who possesses an understanding and will peculiar to herself and is susceptible of obligations and rights. So your first question is, what the hell does that mean? It's the same thing as a human body. You have a bunch of cells that come together, and it comes together into a form, that form of which is the human body, and it operates as a unified whole. And then ideally, if the human body wants to survive well, the human body, as a unit, of which you're basically steering, as far as I'm concerned, like a car, it deliberates, takes resolutions in common, it becomes a moral person. Otherwise, if you're an asshole pirate all the time, chances are, you're either not going to get the money that you need for food, or you're going to be attacked, or you're going to be, God knows what's going to happen to you, and then that's going to be the end of it. So nation and the human body are very similar, and in fact, I think the definition of nation comes from the idea of the human body, personally. So a nation has nothing to do with location or territory. The Sovereign Military Order of Malta issues passports, issues license plates, doesn't have any land, doesn't own any land, doesn't even physically possess or control any land at all whatsoever. To be a nation, you do not need to have any land. Any land. You could just be homeless, like me. And you can just have a nation, boom, instantly. Now, how does that work, right? So state, nation kind of means the same thing. So if we go back to naturalization and we reread it, and I replace the word state with the word nation, and I replace the word person with the actual definition, this is going to start to take a little bit more shape for you guys. The term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a nation, nationality, nation, nationality, nation, see? The term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a nation upon an individual or organization after birth by any means whatsoever. So let me ask you, Kenny. If I wrote on the bottom of this that I'm conferring the nationality of Zimbabwe upon myself after birth by any means whatsoever, and I cut it up, and I put it in a box, and I taped it like this, and then I put rubber bands over it, and then I took this shirt off, and I wrapped it around, and then I mailed it to Antarctica UPS. Is it possible, maybe, that could have been included under by any means whatsoever? Bingo. 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 The answer is yes. Now, if you write it, obviously there's like a record that it happened, so it's like more ideal if you write it, but you could say it. You could piss it in the snow. Doesn't matter. It's by any means whatsoever. What if it was, what if I threw paint at the wall and it just kind of like said Zimbabwe? It's like, okay, yeah, that would probably work. As long as people knew you were conferring it upon yourself, that'd probably work, you know what I mean? Okay, so a U.S. citizen is, let's go back to that real quick, U.S. citizen. An individual who is a citizen of the United States by law, birth, or naturalization. So how did you become a U.S. citizen? If the United States is located in the District of Columbia, and no one knows where in the District of Columbia it's located, how in the did you get there? How did it happen? You just poof, and then you just appeared in this like fairyland? Doing some too many shrooms, or what's the, How did you get there? How did it happen? You simply said you're there. That's how you got there. Every time you say you're in the United States, or you're a resident of the United States, or you domicile in the United States, or you have a permanent address in the United States, or whatever, or you're a United States citizen, you just conferred the nationality of some completely undefined location somewhere in the District of Columbia upon a person who happens to be you after birth by any means whatsoever. Now let's say you open up a business, and you open up a business in state of Texas, Well, might be shocking. If United States is located in the District of Columbia, obviously they're a little tricky. Well, I don't have exact direct evidence to show this to you necessarily, but sad to say, State of Texas is also a corporation located in the District of Columbia. So when you say you're a resident of State of Texas for your driver's license, your voter registration makes you say that, makes you sign under penalty of perjury that you are a resident of State of Texas. So the actual original name of Texas is the Republic of Texas. I'm in California, or California Republic, so they always say State of California, but I don't live in State of California. I live in California Republic. Texas would be the Republic of Texas. Tennessee has a weird one. Tennessee is the Southwest Territory. So they all have original names that are not incorporated, and those incorporated names, when you confer the nationality of those corporations that are located in the District of Columbia upon yourself or your children, or anybody else actually for that matter, or your estates, or your companies, or your corporations, or your partnerships, or your trusts, your statutory trusts, after birth, by any means whatsoever, you are moving into the District of Columbia. So the problem is that almost everybody in the United States of America, on paper, lives in the District of Columbia. Now, does the Constitution, the Second Amendment, all the Bill of Rights, do any of these things apply to the foreign incorporated zone called the District of Columbia? They do not. So what does apply in the District of Columbia? Statutes. So this whole country basically operates as though 99.9% of every single person's in the District of Columbia. So you say, I'm an American, I have rights. You don't. And you put yourself there. You just didn't know it. And it's very easy to fix. My God. You just get that carrier pigeon out, you train him good, you stick that piece of paper on his leg, and you just wrap it around with tape or whatever, and you just send him loose towards Washington, D.C., or over here, or maybe toward the ocean. By any means whatsoever, Kenny. By any means whatsoever. Okay. So the next question people always ask me, because most people are in the frame of mind that they feel that they need approval or some sort of permission, which I was also in that boat as well. You say to yourself, well, if I say it, they're just going to ignore me. They're not going to do it. They don't care. Fine. So what is the definition of a foreign government? So let's say, for example, you wanted to create your own little nation with your friends. We can create our own little nation here. A nation is a bunch of people operating together, blah, blah, don't need any land, don't need territory. It's got nothing to do with that, right? If you look at the, I'm not going to pull it up because it might be, well, maybe I can actually. 8 FAM 505.2. I'll show you guys the example that they use of a nation in the passport material, which is called the Foreign Affairs Manual. You scroll down here under, this is endorsement codes for a passport. Endorsement number 11, which the D stands for diplomatic, says here, the bearer is ambassador at large for title. And if you look at the example it gives in the red, e.g., ambassador at large for global women's issues. You are now a national of the nation called One Stupid Duck. It's that simple. It's not complicated at all. It's emotionally complicated, but logically it's very simple. Emotionally, you want to burn buildings down and rip your own skull off, which is okay, I understand. Let's read it again. The term national means a person owing permanent allegiance to a state. Now, the first thing people say is the word permanent, which is very funny. So there's a special definition for the word permanent. The term permanent means a relationship of continuing or lasting nature as distinguished from temporary. But a relationship may be permanent even though it is one that may be dissolved eventually at the instance either of the United States or of the individual in accordance with law. So permanent means literally fucking nothing. So now we're going to go back and reread it. We're just going to remove that very useless word, my God, and we're just going to reread it without that, okay? The term national means and then we're going to replace the word person with individual or organization, okay? The term national means an individual or organization owing allegiance to a state or nation. Okay? Is it starting to take shape here a little bit? Barely? So, if you're not a U.S. citizen, you don't need to live in this unknown, God knows where area called the United States. So, here, a U.S. citizen is here, like let's say in between these two podiums is the United States, whatever, even though it doesn't really, who knows. I'm over here, and I sign up for voter registration, and I say, I'm a resident of the state of Texas, or I'm a U.S. citizen. Now, boom, you just naturalized. Now you're here. Now how do you leave? You say, I actually pledge allegiance to, and I'm actually conferring nationality of the nation of One Stupid Duck Nation over here. Now what happens? Now you move to One Stupid Duck Nation. Now what's over there? That's the United States. How do you become a national of the United States? You pledge allegiance. And now you are a U.S. national. U.S. national is right there, boom. 8 U.S.C. 1101 subsection A22. The term national of the United States means A, citizen of the United States, or B, a person who, though not a citizen of the United States, owes permanent allegiance to the United States. Wow. You could be in France and you don't even speak any English. I pledge allegiance to the United States. Boom, you're a U.S. national. You could be in a cave in Antarctica. You could be an Eskimo. If you owe or pledge allegiance to the United States, you are now a U.S. national. Now check this out. Persons entitled to a passport, 22 U.S.C. 212. No passport shall be granted or issued to or verified for any other persons than those owing allegiance, whether citizens or not, to the United States. Now, what do you need to operate an automobile privately? What do you need to open bank accounts? What do you need to open credit card processing? What do you need to get a home? What do you need to do anything in this country that would be the same as what anybody else could do who was like born here or whatever? Passport. That's all you need. Most powerful freaking thing in the world. That's all you need. You don't necessarily even need it. If you want to fight and litigate and go fucking berserk for the next 2 decades, then you don't really need it. But if you want more of a simple life, you need a passport. Passport, you go in, you can get anything you want. You could buy things, you can get credit card processing, you can get bank accounts opened up, you can buy cars, you can buy homes. Everything you could do if you lived here and you were born here and you grew up in Arkansas and you were a good old boy. All you need is a passport. You don't need a social security number. You don't need any other type of identification. You do not need a driver's license. You do not need anything except a passport. If you have a passport, you can do everything anyone else in America can do. All that other stuff is all just added whatever, and it means other things. Passport is really all you need. 22 CFR 51.2. A passport may be issued only to a U.S. national. So passports are issued only to 2 classifications. A citizen of the United States, or B, a person who, though not a citizen of the United States, owes permanent allegiance to the United States. Anyone can get a United States passport anywhere by simply pledging allegiance to the United States. Now, if you live in the United States, you don't have the Constitution. If you live outside of the United States, in the original United States of America, you do have the Constitution, but you can't operate very easily in the system because you're outside of the system, which is okay, you can do that too. But if you want to operate outside the system and inside the system at the same time, you simply exit and then pledge allegiance. You get all the benefits of being in the system, and you can operate the system over there, and you get all the benefits of being outside the system at the same time. People always say, what's the downfall of this? There is no downfall. I'm sorry, there's just not. And the reason why is because you got to think, this works like this for both you and your all caps name. So let's say you're out here with your buddy, all caps name. Where's all caps name? This is my buddy, all caps name. Okay, Brandon Joe Williams over here. Me and Brandon Joe Williams, I conferred the nationality of the state called One Stupid Duck on him too, and on me too. So we're hanging out over here in One Stupid Duck. But let's say I want to go in, infiltration mission. And let's say I don't want to go in as the natural person. That's a little bit risky. I'd rather have a corporation that goes in for me because I get limited liability in commerce with a corporation. No problem, boys. Splinter cell, we got our night vision goggles. We got our silencers. I confer the nationality of the United States upon Brandon J. Williams in all caps, this person, after birth, by any means whatsoever. Now he's in. But I'm still over here. And you can just run him with strings. Like the politicians, yeah. They don't know where or who they are, which is hilarious. So I like operating in the system and out of the system at the same time. I like operating this thing in the system as needed. I don't really ever need to enter the system. I don't really care. There's no benefit to me entering the system because I can just have a power of attorney between me and this person, and I can send him in, and I can speak on his behalf. So it's like he's got a little speaker in there. And I'm like a ventriloquist. I'm like, yeah, fuck you, bro. And then what do? They say, oh, yeah, contempt of court, and they grab him, and they put him in jail. They can't put me in jail. I'm not there. What are you going to do? I'm a foreign nation. I'm a foreign diplomat of a foreign nation. Once you're a foreign government, you are an ambassador at large for your nation, as per 8 FAM 505.2 endorsement section, endorsement number 11. So now there's a question I get a lot, which is a really intelligent question, which is the definition of allegiance. So we have allegiance. Most people go like, oh, I don't want to pledge allegiance to the United States. Trust me, I totally understand. So I have developed, and I go into detail, I have a explanatory statement that you attach to the DS-11 passport application form that covers all of this information. It covers definitions. It covers the allegiance. Now, allegiance, when you look it up in the dictionary, while this is loading, I'll explain this. Allegiance can be absolute and unqualified, as per the definition, or it could be qualified and temporary. So the beautiful thing about that is that you don't have to worry about allegiance because you can pretty much define it as however you want, and they will accept it. I'll show you the definition of allegiance first, and then we'll get into how I write my allegiance pledge, right? Let's see here. To clarify what is meant by allegiance, I will defer to Black's Law 2nd edition. Definition. By allegiance is meant the obligation of fidelity and obedience, which the individual owes to the government under which he lives or to his sovereign in return for the protection he receives. It may be an absolute and permanent obligation, or it may be a qualified and temporary one. Oh. So I move over here by just saying to them over here, and then I pledge allegiance by saying, like, almost nothing. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. So this is how I do it. To be clear, I am not an enemy of the incorporated entity that calls itself United States. And real quick, before we get into that, we're going to look at the definition of peace, because we saw that in 18 U.S.C. 11, foreign government defined. As long as you're at peace, then you're a foreign government, even if they're irrespective of recognition by the United States, right? So peace. Very similar to the definition of nation, by the way. Peace. The tranquility enjoyed by a political society, internally by the good order which reigns among its members, and externally by the good understanding it has with all other nations. Applied to the internal regulations of a nation, peace imports, which means like shows or indicates, in a technical sense, not merely a state of repose and security as opposed to one of violence or warfare, but likewise a state of public order and decorum. So you see the diplomats, and they're going around, and they're like in their nice suits, and they have this whole like etiquette. Someone sent me a whole etiquette book. It's literally a diplomatic etiquette book, like written by the Department of State. It's badass. I've never seen it. They have like everything. They have like how silverware is supposed to be placed on a table. They have a seating chart of like when you're with other people from other countries, like who sits where. It's like I saw this like yesterday. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Okay, so a state of public order and decorum. Pretty interesting. It's literally just diplomatic relations. If you confer the nationality of a state upon yourself after birth means whatsoever, and you operate within the confines of international diplomatic relations, bada bing, bada boom. You are your own country, you're your own king, and you are a foreign government as per the United States, and then now you can pledge allegiance to the United States, and then you can get a United States passport. You're done. You can actually pledge allegiance to other countries as well. I've pledged allegiance to my country, which is the nation of the Amnesty Coalition. I've pledged allegiance to a micronation in California called Slow Jamistan, which I love very much. and I've also pledged allegiance to the United States. So I'm actually a national of 3 different nations. National of 3 different nations, right? So this is how I write this. To be clear, I am not an enemy of the incorporated entity that calls itself United States. But since I do not live in that area, nor do I have much in the way of contractual obligations with that area, my allegiance lies simply in the ideas that are found within that incorporated body that would match up with the definitions of nation and peace from the definition section in section 2, which is the same definitions we've already covered. My allegiance is not infinite and unconditional. My allegiance is confined to be within the definitions of nation and peace, and if the federal corporation, just to fuck with them a little bit, I capitalized the F. You see that? If the federal corporation decides at any point to step outside of those definitions, then my allegiance would end at that point. By definition, if the federal corporation ever steps outside the definition of nation or peace, then by its own codes, it ceases to exist. My allegiance ends at that moment that the nation ceases to exist simply because my support cannot exist for a nation that does not physically exist. I love you, brother. You're so fantastic. But you fuck around, you go away. I don't. See? Isn't that beautiful? There's no hostility, no fighting, right? My true and unfettered allegiance lies in the ideas and spirit behind the idea of being a true American. Freedom, common law, masculine and feminine duality, supreme force, technical performance, national pride, etc. My love and devotion to the heart and soul of our collection of independent, unincorporated states is unquestionable and barely conditional. My allegiance ultimately lies in the unincorporated state in which I domicile, but that love does truly extend to all other unincorporated states found within our union that intend and factually produce tranquility inside and outside of their nation and carry themselves as a unified body that operates with morals and decorum. Meaning, I love you if you simply exist. If you don't exist, I can't love you. It's your choice. See the difference? Not, oh my God, please respond to my letter. Please respond. Respond to my letter. That's what I used to do, and I laugh because I see it so often now. It's like we're so inundated, we're so brainwashed. It's like send something to the IRS, and you just sit there and sweat for 90 days, like, and I responded. Oh my God, can't believe they do that to me. Those guys, my buddies. Just like the oath of office of the Senate, which is actually part of the oath of office for the Senate, literally, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But that specific Constitution is only and exclusively the only one that belongs to the unincorporated United States. The incorporated United States is foreign to me, but the unincorporated United States is domestic to me. Because you don't know, like, who United States, like, where do you even, so you just lay it all out. If you're referring about this over here, this is the situation. If you happen to be referring to this over here, this is the situation. Now I don't need to worry about we weren't talking about that, United States. Okay, well, I've already covered both, so I don't even care what you have to say. Like, don't even talk. It's okay. You see, you don't need to wait for them to tell you. You don't need to wait for them to explain which thing they're talking about. You say, like, there's two of them, so I'm just going to explain how it's going to work with either one. And now you can go after yourself. That's it on that. And then how much time do I have left? Does anybody know? So I think a half an hour. Okay, good. So now we're going to go to taxation. How does taxation plug into all this, right? So we have a national of the United States. Now I'm just going to prove this to you for people who are like really think I'm full of S, right? So this is an I-9 employment eligibility verification form. And most people are, you're supposed to fill this out when you get a new job. If you look here on box 1, so we have check one of the following boxes to attest to your citizenship or immigration status. Box 1, a citizen of the United States. Box 2, a non-citizen national of the United States. All you're doing is checking box 1. All you have to do is check box 2. Do you realize that if you check box 2 and you sign it, you didn't really necessarily naturalize because you didn't name like the actual nation? I guess up top, you could put your name, you could put country, I don't know, you could put some stuff up here and kind of see what happens. Country of, one stupid duck nation or whatever. And then click number 2. And then sign it. And then at that point, you've naturalized because you have to actually state the state of which you are conferring upon the person after birth by any means whatsoever. If you don't state it, then it's technically not naturalization, right? So how does this work with taxation? Well, 26 CFR 1.871.1, 1.871/1, it is. So the tax code uses a little bit different language, but it's the same thing. It's just they use different words to describe the same thing. They're just trying to make it confusing, which is okay, no problem. We'll figure it out. So while it's loading, there's two different terms that So this is how they classify taxation for individuals. For the purposes of the income tax, alien individuals, which is interesting, they're all aliens. No one's ever noticed that. Every single tax classification always contains the word alien. Kind of weird. You're an alien. Aliens do exist. For purposes of the income tax, alien individuals are divided generally into two classes, namely resident aliens, people who have conferred the nationality of the United States upon themselves or their ends just after birth by any means whatsoever, and non-resident aliens, people who have not conferred the nationality of the United States upon themselves or their ends just after birth by any means whatsoever, but They've pledged allegiance to the United States. I mean, you could be a non-resident alien and not pledge allegiance to the United States, I guess. You wouldn't be a U.S. national at that point. You have to pledge allegiance to be a U.S. national, okay? Now, we know all about naturalization, so how do you unelect or unsubscribe from the Netflix called the federal income tax? Just let them know. It's called a revocation of election. A lot of people have heard that term, but it's actually more specific because there's a lot of different elections of which you could revoke. It's revocation of election to be treated as a U.S. resident for purposes of determining your income tax liability. That's the exact terminology. You could write a little piece of paper and you could write on there, revocation of election. I have one here I can show you. I give it away for free if you guys want to download mine. You can put your name on it and you can put some addresses on it and you can send it out in about 5 minutes, certified mail. It'll cost you maybe $12 or $15 for each parcel. You're going to send out 2 parcels. And you are officially unsubscribing from federal income tax. Just like Netflix. Same shit. Revocation of election to be treated as a U.S. resident for purposes of determining income tax liability.